Hello, everyone. So, today our topic of discussion is the perceptual constancy. Let us firstly understand what's a perceptual constancy. So, basically, it's a tendency that's present both in animals and even in humans to be able to see familiar objects as having standard shape, standard size, standard color, regardless of changes in the angle of perspective, distance, or lighting. What's important here to understand is that these are all familiar objects, which means that they are known to me. I've had experiences with these objects even before, right? So, moving on, of course, to the first one, which is the size constancy. So, as a matter of fact, we know that the size of the image that's formed on our retina will change whenever there's going to be a change in the distance of the object from the eye. So, this is a universal fact, and we all know about it, that definitely the size of the retinal image will either increase, it'll become bigger, or it'll become smaller, pertaining to the distance which is there between the object and the observer. This is something universal, right? So, but as per the size constancy, it is a tendency in all of us to perceive the size of the objects to remain relatively unchanged. You know, even if there's going to be a change in the distance that's going to be between the observer and the object, and even if there's going to be a change in the size of the retinal image, but the perceived size of the object will remain unchanged, and this tendency is my size constancy. For instance, you have a friend, right? And you've been spending time with her every now and then, so you have your own experience with this friend of yours, right? So, if probably she would be standing at a distance and the retinal image that's being formed on your retina is very small because the distance between you and the friend is quite a lot. So, of course, the image formed on the retina will also be smaller, but that's not going to change the fact that she has a certain height about which even she has a certain height or she is of a certain size. That's not going to change the fact, even if her size is appearing to be very small on the retinal image, or if there's a huge distance between the two of you, right? What you are perceiving will remain unchanged. Your perception will remain unchanged of your friend's size, regardless of the size of her retinal image, regardless of the distance between you and your friend. Your perception will remain unchanged of your friend's size, and that is what exactly is the size constancy, because everything comes down to our experiences. How much are you known to that object, you know and how much experience do you have, right? In depth experience. So it all comes down to that basically. Now we move on to the next topic, which is our shape constancy. Now this shape constancy we come to see, of course, it is our ability to be able to perceive an object, you know, maintaining its shape despite any change in shape of the image of the object on the retina. So, if we look at the image right in front of us, we see a watch, right? Of course, if we see the clock, we are going to see the clock from different angles. So, obviously, if we look at the clock from different angles, we will notice that the shape of the clock will change, right? Pertaining to different angles, the shape of it will be different. It will be changed, obviously. But we are not going to perceive the clock as something that's actually changing its shape. you know it's not like that because I'm seeing the clock from sideways, so suddenly the clock has actually changed its shape. No, it's not that. The fact remains the same. your perception will remain relatively unchanged. The clock's shape will remain the same, even if on perceiving it, the image on the retina that's being formed is going to be different each time when viewed at different angles, you know. So, but the shape of it is going to continue to remain unchanged, the perceived shape by the observer, right? So then we have the next one, which is your brightness constancy. And brightness constancy is, of course, the ability to perceive the brightness of the object as constant. So the brightness of the object will remain unchanged, you know, even though there are going to be changes in the illumination that can make the object appear brighter, it can make the object appear lighter also. You know, it all depends on the changes that are being made in the illumination. But again, the brightness that I am perceiving of the object will remain constant. And that's what is the meaning of brightness constancy. So, of course, the degree of whiteness of an object, the grayness, the blackness, all of that is going to remain the constant only, you know, even though the amount of physical energy reflected from them will change considerably, you know. And so basically, our experience of brightness does not change in spite of the changes in the amount of reflected light that are reaching our eyes, isn't it? So we have a tendency that we actually continue to maintain apparent brightness constant under different amount of illumination, right? So if we just think of a surface of white paper and we take this white paper, you know, in the sunlight and then we bring it inside. Of course, the amount of light that is outside and the amount of light that's going to be inside the house is very different, you know. But as a matter of fact, I still know that this is but a white paper, you know, and for me, the brightness will continue to remain constant, you know. So, this is how we perceive objects. It doesn't matter, you know, even if there are going to be changes in the amount of reflected light, it really doesn't matter, you know. What matters is my own experience, my own um, way of perceiving it, you know, and that perception will remain constant because the object is known, it's familiar, I have experiences there, right? So, definitely, these three are nothing but tendencies in us, you know, and this together sums up the perceptual constancies. Thank you so much.